Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
Okay, welcome back everyone. It's our custom to go around the room and introduce ourselves, and I'll start. My name is Grisha.
I'm Brad.
I'm Matthew.
My name is Stephen.
Jan.
Hi, I'm Milo.
I'm Bruce.
I'm Tony.
Jack.
My name's Cass.
Rod.
I'm George.
And I'm also George.
Welcome in the room. And on Zoom we have Daniel, Henry, Bob, Lee, Tom, Marvin, Harley, Clint, Steve, John, Christian, Ron, Joe, Greg, Samuel, Don, Richard, Frisco, Marcus, and Tom. Welcome everyone on Zoom and in the room. It's my pleasure to introduce Eugene Cash, who is the founding teacher of San Francisco Insight Meditation Community of San Francisco. He teaches at Spirit Rock Meditation Center and leads intensive meditation retreats internationally. His teaching is influenced by both Burmese and Thai streams of the Theravada tradition, as well as Zen and Tibetan Buddhism practice. He's also a teacher of the Diamond Approach, a school of spiritual investigation and self-realization adopted by A.H. Almas.
Great, thank you. Hi, everybody. Good to be here again. It's been a while. Two things. One is I like to ask you questions at the end. So be ready for me to ask, what did you think about talk, or did it make any sense, or did you like it, or you hate it, or etc. And of course, if you want to ask any questions, you could just tell me at the end also, and you could start there. You could ask me questions, or I'll ask you questions. How's that? Great. And I thought, and I wanted to continue from the instructions that I began with. They'll be short again, which is to relax and be aware even while you're listening. And this is a really important piece that I think is the least understood part of the teachings of Satipatthana, which is the Four Foundations of Mindfulness. And the first foundation of mindfulness is mindfulness of the body. So be aware of your body right now while you're listening, because it's you're hearing through your body. And the way it's written, there's the first foundation: mindfulness of body, mindfulness of the breath, mindfulness of body posture, like most of us are sitting right now. I don't see anybody lying down. Maybe on Zoom somebody's lying down. But you want to be aware of the breath. Or another way to be mindful is in posture, and then at some point they go to the different elements of the body: earth, air, fire, water, which the body is made up of, and then they go to being mindful in all activities: sitting, walking, standing, lying down, eating, shitting, pissing, and then also being mindful when speaking and listening. And that's a mindfulness of the body practice. So I want to encourage you to just feel your body. It's very simple, but it's the most 24/7 mindfulness practice I know. If you want to practice 24/7 and see what happens, Be aware of your body when you're talking to the people at, Safeway, or when you're with your partner or your friends or at a party. And of course, my favorite place is in New York on the subway, when you're talking to people you don't even know. And you just can be aware of your body while you're speaking and listening. Okay? No more meditation instructions, I promise. And then I have a whole talk, which I'll give some of because I think it's too long anyways. What I'd like to talk about a little is anicca. Anicca. Anybody not know what anicca is? You say, okay, anicca, impermanence, is how it's translated in Buddhism. And anicca is key to our reality. And it's the most simple teaching, and it's the most difficult one to get, because everything is impermanent. Reality, impermanent. This moment, impermanent. Our bodies, impermanent. Our minds, impermanent. Our centers are impermanent. The earth is impermanent. Everything we know, all conditioned experience is impermanent. And so and there's a lot of pluses given to this understanding in Buddhism. And of course, I teach retreats at Spirit Rock pretty regularly. I taught 2 retreats this fall. The first one was Maranasati. Maranasati is mindfulness of death, which is also in the first foundation of mindfulness. After they do all activities, then they go to the end of the body, to the fact that the body doesn't live forever, and you want to be mindful of that, the Buddha said. And in his time, he would send the monks and nuns to the charnel ground to watch decomposing bodies and to see the body change, because the poor people didn't get their bodies burned; they were just left. And so as they left, they would just decompose, and you could contemplate the decomposition of the body, which is normal. And you don't have to go to the charnel ground to do this. You could just watch. Anything that dies will just keep changing. It will decompose. And so the decomposition of the body is one of the practices one does in mindfulness of the body. And so I teach this generally once a year at Spirit Rock. And it's very powerful, and I show images of decomposing bodies, but also we do a lot of investigation of our relationship to the fact that we're all going to die. And I'd like to know, is anybody here not going to die? Just want to check, because most people say, oh, of course I'm going to die, but inside we all think we're really going to live forever. It's really hard to contemplate the truth of this, and I'm pointing at myself, but I'm pointing at you. It's impermanent. It's just doing this. Rising, passing away. Rising, passing away. Just like this moment. Just like this talk is arising and going to pass away. And we want to learn to come into harmony with what's true. Dharma means truth. And we come into harmony with the Dharma, with that which is true. And so teaching Maranasati, in some sense, all about birth and death and the fact that everything is impermanent. And one of the traditional ways to teach it is to go on a retreat, like we do, a silent meditation retreat, where all you're doing is paying attention to what's happening in this moment, and then this moment, and then this moment, and then this moment. And one of the things you can see is it's all appearing and disappearing, arising, passing. Being born, a moment is born, and then it dies. And this is just, it's not even a big deal, really, because this is reality. Do anybody remember yesterday? I understand it gets harder, but it's gone, right? Wasn't that real? Right? Whatever it was, maybe you had fun, maybe you didn't have fun, maybe it was interesting, maybe it was boring, but whatever it was, it just did this. It arose and passed away. And it's not a mistake, or it's not there's something wrong with that. And here's the key for, like when I teach Impermanence, really what we do is just normalize death, because it's the most normal thing in the world. Because everything that's born dies. Everything. It's sometimes I underplay it so much people get pissed at me. Because it's so normal that everything that's born is dying. And I could say it about us, I could say it about dogs, cats, alligators, whales. I was just reading about whales today. Whales are pretty wild, You never hang out with a whale. They were talking about sperm whales. That sounds good, a sperm whale. And they're big, and they have no predators, sperm whales. Like, that's rare in the animal world. And what they've discovered, which they didn't know before, was they can start to decipher, did you see this? Yeah, their language. And they're equating it with human language and how human language works. Because, of course, whales are smart. And so this is another example of impermanence, of what we know is always changing. There's more to learn, and we're learning more. It's one of the beauties of human beings. Really, one of the wild things about us as humans is knowledge doesn't cease. There's more to discover about everything. And the world is so wild, and we know a lot, and there's so much more to learn. And the dharma is one of the doorways to keep learning, to keep waking up, to keep understanding the truth. And understanding is one of the metaphors for awakening in Buddhism that's often underplayed or not heard, because everybody thinks awakening is some wild thing, like, on the top of the mountain in Tibet. And it is, but it's also right here at the Gay Buddhist Fellowship. Right? It's right here. It's right here in San Francisco. It's right where we are awakening. And understanding is one of the ways we can understand what it means to awaken. We awaken to the dharma, to the truth of the way things are. And so I taught the Impermanence retreat, and then I taught a second retreat like a day after. And that retreat was about only this moment. That's all we were doing on the whole retreat was, can you just be here now and be aware? And of course, it's the same for us sitting here. You just want to be here and be aware, and you're aware of me, and you're aware of yourself also. You're aware of what you're thinking or feeling, or how your body is, or the room, the space in the room, and the aliveness that's here. It's all here. The whole dharma is right here. I say this every time I teach. My friend Joseph Goldstein, one of my mentors in the old days, one of my first teachers, his teacher, Munindraji, would always say to Joseph, the whole dharma is sitting here. The whole dharma is sitting right here. Even on Zoom, the whole dharma is sitting right there. And this is it. It's just the wildest thing about life. It's all right here. anyhow, I can go on and on about that. I'm going to keep going to Anicca. Here's another change, right? So Anicca, impermanence, also translated as change, right? And in the Merriam-Webster etymology, they now have Anicca as a word. Like, that's a change. That's different. When I started in the Dharma, it wasn't in American dictionaries, Anicca, right? That's great and wow. And they say it's from it's Pali and the Sanskrit, from the Sanskrit, and it means anicca in the Sanskrit means not eternal, and nitya is eternal. A means not, and that's all Anicca means. It's not eternal, and it's so simple and helpful when we relax with that nothing is eternal. No conditioned things are eternal. And Buddhism, the word is impermanence. Another really nice word. If you know me, I like words, so I throw in words that I like. Evanescence. Evanescence. Evanescence means to disappear like a vapor. It's just a beautiful word. It just has nothing to do with anything too important, but I like it. Evanescence, to disappear like a vapor. That's one of the understandings of Anicca. Everything disappears like a vapor. Like, where's yesterday? Where's last year? Where's, I can't even remember people. Where's Ronald Reagan? Where's Franklin Delano Roosevelt? Where's Gandhi? Where's Waldorf? Waldo. Where's Waldo? I don't even know Waldo. See, that's how unstatic reality is, that I don't know Waldo. I kind of know the name, and I think there's a new movie or something. Maybe I'm wrong. It might be some other commercial that I'm relating to. Anyhow, so, right, impermanence or evanescence means change, transience, that things are ephemeral, unstatic, transitory. Then another way to talk about it, it's about the momentariness of all of reality. And this is one of the doorways to awakening. Just this simple, ordinary, normal, every moment truth is a really strong doorway to awakening. And awakening is often translated as the unconditioned, because impermanence, what's impermanent is all conditioned things. So what is it that's not conditioned? And then some other words for awakening are the unborn or the deathless, which is really, these are beautiful, poetic, pointing at something that is not a thing, which we call awakening. It's a freedom, or it's wild. I say wild because there's no words. The words actually don't work. And if you've ever had any of the classical experience of awakening in the Theravada, cessation is the word that's used, and it means the cessation of consciousness, like consciousness ceases. And this is true. This can happen. It's not the only way awakening happens, but it's a very classical Theravadan Buddhist form of awakening. And you have this experience, but you don't know you're having the experience when it's happening, because consciousness has ceased. And what happens is something comes back and knows that you weren't there. And you don't know what happened, but you know something happened. And this is true, and I know many people this has happened before. Generally that happens on long retreats. And it's why like a term like the unconditioned or the unborn or the deathless seems to make sense, because it's so not a thing what happens. And the impact is what's important, not the thing itself, not the non-thing itself. That's a better way to say it. Suzuki Roshi said, and Suzuki Roshi, if you don't know, was the founder of San Francisco Zen Center, which is one of the great practice places in the world, I believe, and definitely in San Francisco, and actually one of the first Buddhist places I meditated when I was a kid, meaning a young man, and I would go to there 5:30 in the morning sitting, because you could just go in and sit, and you didn't have to relate to anybody, and then you could leave. It was like, that was perfect for me at that time. And but Suzuki Roshi, when he discovered no moment could be repeated, he said he was awakened. When he discovered no moment could be repeated, he was awakened. He was free. So Anicca, impermanence, change, evanescence, sometimes fluidity, because it's like, you know how you can't stop a stream, it's always moving. If you pour water, it just keeps going, keeps changing. Thanissaro Bhikkhu, who was one of my teachers for a while, he used the word inconstant to understand what anicca meant. He called it inconstant. He's done a lot of great translations of the Pali Canon. And it's really seeing that all things, our bodies, our hearts, our minds, are in a continuous change of condition. Nothing is static, right? It's all arising and changing or passing. And you please reflect for yourself, however old you are, like, can you remember childhood? Remember that happened? Remember being a teenager or a young adult? Or for some of you middle-aged? Or for some of you old? And for some of you really old now? And it all just keeps doing itself. It's natural. It's not a mistake, anicca, change. But we can contemplate it and see that the body changes, all our thoughts, all our feelings, they come into being and they dissolve, they change, even if they stay for a while. They're all impermanent. So there's a beautiful chant that I love in Buddhism, and we're going to play it, and feel free to sing along if you want. But and the words are anicca vata sankhara upadavaya dhammano upakita nu nirochanti te sang upasamo sukho. And the translation is, all conditioned things are impermanent. Their nature is to rise and pass away. To live in harmony with this truth brings the highest happiness. So let's play this for a minute or two. And just steep in it for a second. Steep in this truth. You don't have to sing it or anything.
Om
Anicca. So that's a very traditional chant you might do for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes and just steep in what it's saying, just to get it in our bones, in our cells, this truth that's hard for us to really experientially know is true. We may know it cognitively, but it's really hard for us for many good reasons, you know. But I want to say a little more about impermanence because it's part of the difficulty of life, that things are impermanent. And one of the things that I'm talking about these days is a war between Israel and Hamas. And I was upset about the war when it started, and I'm still upset about the war. And I decided to do a little research and see, well, what is going on? And so I did some historical research, which I'm going to tell you. And I discovered Israel was founded in 1948, something like that. And they've had between 16 and 19 wars, depending on who's counting, since that country got created. And as part of the aftermath of World War II, Israel got created in Palestine. And there have been wars in that area preceding this. And that interested me. So there have been wars in that area, what we call Palestine, Israel, for the last 5,100 years. Like, that's a long time to be fighting over that land. And Judaism is approximately 4,000 years old. So predating even Jews being in that area, the Jewish people being there, the Canaanites and the Philistines fought wars over that land, right? And so, and I bring this in because part of understanding the truth and Dharma practice is to be able to see the big picture of reality, because we see how things change and how they stay the same, not perfectly the same, but they have their variance for 5,100 years where human beings have been fighting over this part of the world. And of course, if I want to go even further, I'm sure people have been fighting over parts of the world forever. It's part of our animal nature that humans are not quite evolved enough to stop fighting. And so the dukkha is just based, and dukkha is the Pali word that means suffering, is the simple translation of it. The dukkha is based on ignorance and the kind of greed and hatred and delusion that exists in human beings that we need to be liberated from. It's sometimes the freedom that I talked about, the awakening I talked about, is characterized as freedom from greed, aversion, delusion. Greed, hatred, and delusion. That's freedom. That's freedom in the Buddha's understanding. And so when you're freed of greed or anger or delusion, you're free. And see what happens if you have no greed, no wanting, no aversion, and no ignorance for 1 week. And see what happens if you don't have to, if we're not bound to that historical pattern that we have as human beings. And so and of course the war between Israel and Hamas, and it has a lot of other causes and conditions in this moment from what's been happening since Israel was created, and was Yeah, I could go on and on about that, but you all know a lot about it. I'm sure you all have your own opinions about it. But the truth is that the pain and the suffering and the feeling that we often have of being helpless is based on the fact that we feel we can't do anything. And that is not true. Maybe we can't stop the war by me saying stop the war, which I would do in a moment, but we don't know what impact any action has on the fabric of reality. And every moment matters because it's impermanent. Every moment means something because this is the only moment we can act. And so if we do something, whether it's protest or money or sending metta, which don't underestimate the power of metta. Don't you have that T-shirt on, Red Heavy Metta? I know the power of metta personally because I almost died one point. I had a near-death experience. People did a lot of metta for me. I know that the metta had an impact on me living, and I didn't know it while it was happening at all because I was way more gone than that. But I know it in my soul, in my consciousness, that metta was incredibly powerful. And I was not a metta guy. I was like, I like awakening, and I want to go deep and profound. Metta, it's like, to hell with metta. But living sold me on metta. The love may be more powerful than anything we know in terms of what freedom's about. And I'm going to read you a letter, just the last thing, from a practitioner, a friend of mine in Israel, who's the founder of the Israel Insight Society, right? The mindfulness. And he said, Stephen Folder is his name. He said, I write this from Israel, where I live. We are in the midst of unprecedented pain and suffering, of unimaginable violence. There is a climate of fear and anger and loss, which for some is overwhelming. At the same time, our spiritual community and many groups and kind-hearted folks are extremely active around the clock in online events or physical meetings, bringing relief, humanitarian aid, care, and the capacity to listen and offer ways to find the strength and stability to go through this terribly dark period. At the same time, many of us, including myself, cannot condone the suffering inflicted on the Palestinians of Gaza in response as if to be an answer. Let me say it right. Right. He's saying myself and others cannot condone the suffering inflicted on the Palestinians in Gaza in response as if that would be an answer. It will not be. An eye for an eye will leave the whole world blind. The evidence is clear. Every few years there's been an outbreak of violence. Gaza has been pounded. The seeds are sown for the next round. These days it is by far the worst. It still expresses the utter failure of both sides to explore other options. When the voices of both sides say there are no other options, it expresses only the paths that were not taken. It is sleepwalking into suffering. It shows aggressive and reactive responses based on trauma rather than wise actions that create conditions for change. And he talks about how for years now they've been doing peace walks with Palestinians in the West Bank. Even when dominant voices said peace was impossible and only violence and suppression worked, we found that our tools of deep listening, sharing our pain, daily life experiences, and being in each other's shoes created a lasting bond and showed us that peace was possible. The truth of our shared vulnerability. That's the key line of everything he says. The truth of our shared vulnerability that we all have as human beings, that we all share as human beings, is our vulnerability. That the truth of our shared vulnerability creates an opportunity for transformation. We did a large number of quiet peace walks throughout the region, Israelis and Palestinians, Jews and Arabs, demonstrating what peacefulness was like at times when it was forgotten. Did it make a difference? Yes, like a candle that brings a small light, yet one that makes a real difference in a totally dark room. And then he says, what can you and others do? Kindness is the opposite of hate and violence. Connect with the compassion in your hearts and know that compassion is unlimited. It does not have one address. Radiate compassion for all sides and for ourselves. Beautiful, beautiful letter from Stephen. I'll say one more thing, more personal that happened recently. My partner's mother died, and we had the good fortune to be able to be at her bedside while she was dying. And she'd been out of it for quite a while, and she was at a facility that cared for her. And we knew she was going, and then we got a call saying it seems like it's close. And so we went over, and she waited till we got there. And we were there for about 25 minutes, one on each side of her, holding her hand, and we just like that. She just went. And it was peaceful. It was very, very peaceful, which was not how the last few years of this woman's life had been. The last few years had been very difficult for her. She was really mentally ill and hard to tell what was going on. But could sometimes be there, but could barely relate. But something, and a lot of agitation, but something let go. And that can happen when we die, where she just went, and we knew it. It was just like, and it was not agitated death. And I've done hospice work. I've been around a lot of people dying. They can all be different. She just let go. And of course, that's the key to understanding impermanence, is there's nothing we can actually hold on to in all of reality. There's nothing we can hold on to. It's all impermanent. So I'm going to stop there. And now, any questions or comments that you have before I start asking you some questions or comments? And of course, if there's anybody on Zoom, please raise your virtual hand and we'll do something with you.
We already have Clint in line with his hand up. Go ahead, Clint.
Clint Sider?
Yep.
Hi.
Hi, Clint.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's always a great pleasure to talk to Eugene. Just on the word inconstant.
Yeah.
In Romeo and Juliet on the balcony, Juliet gave Romeo a lecture on impermanence because he swore by his love on the moon, and her reaction was inconstant moon, because it changes all the time in various phases. So she told Romeo to pick something else to swear his love on besides the moon. So I just thought that when I heard the word inconstant.
Yeah, great. Well, it's great because you see how the dharma is everywhere, and Shakespeare wrote a lot of dharma, actually. He was a very interesting whoever the hell he was. Okay, take care. Here we go.
Thank you for a great talk. It's really wonderful and thought-provoking. Is the awakened state and part of conditioned reality, or is there an unconditioned state?
Yeah, it's all non-conditioned. So how could the awakened state be? In other words, it's all impermanent, right? And so even awakening is not permanent, but awakening was never a thing anyways. So it couldn't be permanent. And and even when it's here, when is it here, right? Now. And now is gone a second later. And so sometimes they write about, I don't remember the way it's put. I think it's Bhikkhu Bodhi. He talks about ordinary awakening, every moment awakening. That there's this every moment awakening. And is that constant for a moment? And then the next moment. And what we do is we thread moments together in a way to to conceptually make them permanent. Like, this is me, right? Now, if we brought you here, if we could sit you over here as a 12-year-old, and you were both here, which one is you? That one's not you. This one is not even you. You is a concept that we put on the moments of reality, and we call it me. And it's good when you go to the doctor. You say, "Oh, I'm here. This is me," but experientially, all our cells, all our molecules are alive and changing. Nothing stays the same. So where are we actually? And that's an interesting part of practice, and it's why investigation is the second factor of awakening. First factor of awakening is mindfulness, awareness. Second factor, investigation. To keep studying, learning, discovering what's true. Because the experiential truth is totally wild. Wilder than we even know. And I'm including myself when I say that, because I've had some pretty wild experiences. And when I had my near-death experience, that was way wilder than anything I'd ever learned. That was just out of the box, everything. And I like out of the box. I'm glad I lived, it's just wild to see. Now, what is consciousness becomes another question. What is it that's aware of awakening? What is it that's aware of this breath? I do a lot of breath meditation. What is it that's aware of anything? And can we be aware of that? It's more fun. It'd be a lot of fun. In my language, I like big. When I say fun, I mean big F fun. It's not just Walt Disney fun, which is okay for some people.
We have Lee online with a question. Go ahead, Lee.
Yes, so this is a question about thought, and my former Buddhist teacher said my problem was I kept thinking, but I can't stop it seemingly.
Yeah, whoa. Can I just interject something right now?
Sure.
So if you can't stop thinking, who's thinking? Because
I understand.
Yeah, if they're your thoughts, then stop them. Like here, this is my paper. I don't want it. Gone. My glasses, my hearing aids, my clothes. But me, my thoughts, I'm not. Even when I don't want them to happen, they happen on their own, don't they? So don't take them personally. That's really what your teacher is saying.
Okay.
Okay, now
And
go
so,
ahead.
no, thank you. So first of all, I thought your talk was just wonderful.
Okay.
And in fact, I'm probably going to listen to the recording when it's available.
Great.
But so the question is, as you were describing awakening, impermanence, and death, what occurred to me is what I understand another concept from Buddhism and the similarity. So it sounds as if awakening and then returning is really analogous to dying and being reborn, reincarnation, except that in the momentary awakening, which you were describing of and then coming back, we have memories of the past, whereas when we're reborn, for most of us at least, though there are people who differ in that,
Right.
We don't, and I wondered if what that might be.
What
I don't know how to
might
ask it.
be? What might be?
Well, I guess I want to ask whether that makes sense, but that seems like the forbidden thinking again.
Oh no, you can think. I'm not totally fine with thinking. It's, somebody thought of Gay Buddhist Fellowship, and here it is. That's not good. Thoughts can be really good. Somebody thought of Spirit Rock, and I know who it was, and now we have Spirit Rock. And so thoughts are not bad. Thoughts are just not the end of the story. And that's why impermanence is important, is you get a bigger picture of the whole show. And the whole show is good and bad, right and wrong, fun and shitty. It's all of it. It's human life. But as you step back, even for a moment, you can see that you're not bound to the moment. It's just here. And then there's some freedom can come. Even in the worst of times, when you read of people who are really act like bodhisattvas, even in the worst situation, you see that freedom is possible anywhere. And here, I'll give a simple example. In Nelson Mandela, 26 years in a cell. I've been to his cell, I've been to South Africa, I've been to the prison. He comes out, he changes the whole world. It's just amazing what he did in a country that was so constantly racist. And I don't mean there's no racism exists anymore in South Africa, but he changed the whole flavor of the potential for what's possible for the human beings of South Africa and the world. And so I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's what's come up so far. And what else? There was something else specific I thought you were pointing at.
Is the concept of... So it seems to me there's really no difference between, except for one thing, between reincarnation and awakening and coming back in this life, except that we have a memory of some immediate memory.
So a moment dies and we're reborn, we could say. And then people in Buddhism say that. And and there's the memory. And for some people, like you're saying, supposedly we die, we're reborn. Some people can actually remember. Some people can't. I don't know. I don't remember my last birth. I've had some, past life experiences. Who knows? I don't know. I like to know for real. I know what I know from my near-death experience. That was wild. But I know enough to know that I don't know. I don't expect death to be like what happened to me when I had the near-death experience. Maybe, okay, but maybe not. Maybe that's it. Who knows? I don't know. And not knowing is a really valuable muscle in spiritual practice. Instead of thinking we know, discovering experientially what's true. I trust that. Great.
We're just about out of time, but I'm dying to ask you a question about your near-death experience.
No.
Because I am...
What?
I'm actually meditating right now and working with my doctors on this thing, the pulsed form, which is a form that you can fill out so that if you have any health episode, they allow natural death, no matter what. No matter if it's like you got COVID and you just need a pill, or you just need a couple pills or something, or you need a mouth-to-mouth or a CPR. Anyway. And it freaks my doctors out. But to me, I'm really a lot more interested in death than I am in old age and sickness. And so someone in Lindy in the Park, this community in Golden Gate Park, was in the middle of dancing, doing the Lindy dance, and collapsed and died. And it's devastating to his community. To me, it's like, lucky dude. He doesn't know about Gaza and Israel fighting. And then he doesn't have to get, he doesn't have to be on agitated death and hospice. So having been through that, what's your thought about a pulse form? You wouldn't be sitting here right now, I guess.
Yeah, probably not. And, I just think everybody should do whatever they want, because it's your life and it's your death. And, I just wouldn't make a big deal out of it either way. But that's also me, and people, it is a big deal for everybody, generally, except that, it's just like, yesterday is gone. Are we making a big deal out of the fact that yesterday is gone? Let's live it now and see what happens. This moment, we're alive. It's wild that we're living consciousness related to a body. And so, whatever you want, whatever makes you happy, I'm happy. really, that's my kind of heavy metta. Okay. Thank you. Sure.
Henry, your hand was up. You want to jump in? We can go 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. So, Eugene, you mentioned, you pointed us toward understanding as a form of awareness.
A form of awakening.
Oh, as a form of awakening, even more. And so sometimes I wonder, how much is there to understand about, for instance, the breath? We spend a lot of time trying to be aware of the breath, but I don't know how much I can understand it.
Well, the breath can teach you everything. Everything. It can free you totally. That's what's wild about understanding the breath. Understanding doesn't just mean cognitive understanding. Understanding means somatic, kinesthetic, energetic awareness and understanding of what of in-breath, out-breath, and what happens when we get closer and closer and closer, so we become one with the breath. And then what happens when we disappear into breath? Breath is teaching you more and more and more about the dharma. Okay, I got your attention. Good. Yeah, stay with the breath. And you might look at Thanissaro Bhikkhu's book. I can't remember the name. He wrote a few really great books on the breath, and I really studied with him breath meditation for a few years, and the Buddha breathed himself to enlightenment. So that's your inspiration.
Okay, thank you.
Go for it.
All right, thank you so much. Announcements. It's time for announcements.
I have
but Eugene wanted to ask some.
I have one announcement.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, just that I teach as part of San Francisco Insight every Sunday night. I don't teach every Sunday night. I only teach one night a month now. I taught every Sunday night for 30 years, but I'm too old. I'm tired of it. But once a month. So come join us whenever you want. We're online still, and so far we're staying online, and we're joining with other Spirit Rock teachers in San Francisco, John Martin, Anushka, Fernando Pole, Victoria Carey, Pamela Weiss, Howie Cohn, and we're forming a new center in San Francisco called Insight Dharma Center, and you can find out about all of that at sanfranciscoinsight.com, I think we're called. Okay.
Where's the center going to be?
San Francisco.
We don't know the spot yet.
We don't. We hope to buy a building and really have a 24/7 center.
Great.
Yeah. That's okay.
I'm the host today, so please stay and enjoy the fellowship of the Sangha. We have some vegan treats. Sorry, people on Zoom, and hot water for tea. If you have tea, leave your cup in the sink, and I'll take care of it after the meeting. I'll be coming around with the dawn bowl. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. The funds go to pay for this space, pay for our dhamma to teachers, and largely for the newsletter, which goes largely to people who are incarcerated. At 12:30, some people gather at the front door to go for lunch, and everybody's welcome to join them. There's a sign-up sheet on the credenza if anybody wants to be added to our mailing list. And I think that's it.
Any other announcements?
We could use some more volunteers on setting up the Zoom, especially. One of our Zoom techs has moved on to other duties, and it would be great to share the opportunity for service. It's not onerous. Means coming about half an hour early before the meeting to set up. So speak to me if that's something that interests you.
Other announcements? Just a second to say thank you to all the people who do service. There's many in the room, many online, doing newsletters, podcasts. Now Matthew has graciously taken on the management of our mail, our snail mail, and mailing listings. And so there's lots of opportunities for service. Feel free to approach any of us to find out more about how you can be deep in your belonging to this Sangha.
And just thank you all. Good to be with you. Please be well.
Okay, so we gather for our dedication to merit. Do you have a dedication that you'd like to use, or
either way?
Okay. We have one.
Yeah.
So standard one.
Yeah.
Okay. Cass, do you want to do it? Cass.
By the power and truth of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow. May all never be separated from the sacred happiness which is without sorrow. And may all live in equanimity without too much attachment or too much aversion, believing in the equality of all that lives.
Thank you for listening to the Gay Buddhist Forum. If you would like to hear several new talks per month and be notified of upcoming speakers so you can participate live, please subscribe to this podcast, like us on Facebook, and join our mailing list by visiting gaybuddhist.org.